Welcome to Love Letters, Life, and Other Conversations. Hello, Wendy.
Hello, Jane.
How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm really well. I found something during the week that I thought would make the most wonderful love letter or springboard for our conversation this week.
I'm so excited to hear it.
So just to give you a little bit of background, I have a girlfriend of mine who's staying here over Christmas, who is enrolled into an alternative MBA program with Seth Godin, starting in January.
Oh.
And so she brought some of her material with her and some of the books, reading material as well, that she needs to have read by the time the course starts. And one of the books is called The Art of Possibility.
I love that.
You are going to love this, but it got me on the very first page, and that's all I'm going to read to you. And then we'll have a chat about what it means to you and I.
Perfect.
An invitation to possibility. Ben is one of the authors. It's a husband and wife team, and Ben is the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra.
Oh.
So Ben says to the waiter, "Waiter," I said in an exuberant mood, "I have a perfect life, but I don't have a knife." I was having breakfast with a friend on one of my periodic visits to London to conduct the Philharmonic Orchestra. I heard giggles behind me and turned around, caught the eye of a girl of about 12 with a typical English pudding bowl haircut. We exchanged smiles, and then I went back to my conversation and to my breakfast. The next day, I passed the young lady again in the breakfast room and stopped to speak to her. "Good morning. How are you today?" She drew herself up ever so slightly and with a tilt to her chin and a sparkle in her eye, answered me. "Perfect," she said. Later, when she was leaving with her parents, I called out mischievously, "Have a perfect day." "I will," she responded, as though it were the easiest, most obvious choice in the world. And with that, she sailed out into the universe of possibility.
I love it.
I knew you would. Isn't it incredible? We've just been sitting here having a little bit of a chat about it, and just how that one little story can absolutely, completely change the way that you look at things. And, you know, taking that that innocence and that immaturity of, you know, a young girl who just sees every day as perfect. And boy, aren't her parents lucky that they have a 12-year-old that says perfect and walks out into the universe and into a world of possibilities. What do you think, Wendy? I talk too much, I've decided.
I'm sorry, repeat yourself, please.
I talk too much, I've decided.
Don't be silly. You have so much to add, and I'm eager to hear your thoughts. This story is so rich, and one thing that I love about it is that it makes me want to know more. I want to know more about Ben and his wife. I want to know more about the waiter. I want to know more about this little girl. I want to know about her parents.
Okay, so you absolutely need to read this. I'm halfway through. When I started reading this last week when Louise came over, you know, it's so funny. Sometimes I'm sitting here and I think, oh my gosh, that would be so perfect for my I Want More the Next 30 Years group. You know how the first two groups have gone on and they're doing a 12-month program where we meet every second Sunday. And I'm always thinking ahead for something for them to do. Oh, you're having a champagne. Lovely.
Oh, have you met me?
Yes, I don't think I really need to tell you the art of possibility, Wendy, but I can tell you this. You don't hear anything more about the little girl. You don't hear anything about her parents or the waiter, but you do hear all about Ben and his wife, Roz, who are the authors. They co-authored this book together. But the thing that I just loved, and really I'm only halfway through, there's this continual thread, if you like, that they keep reminding us that the stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and about the world around us are all invented. Everything is invented. It's all been invented by man. And so instead of continuing to live, and I said to Louise, well, I don't think I live a disempowered life, but there are certainly times where I could step out of the narrative. And, we've talked about this before. I often talk about stepping out of the circle and walking around the circle and looking at it from all angles. That's what this book's about. It's about changing the narrative and the world around you and empowering yourself and empowering a new story that provides you with meaning and enhances the quality of your life.
I love everything about that. And I too have heard that, 85% of our thoughts or some percentage of our thoughts are just regurgitated thoughts from yesterday. So whatever story we are telling ourselves about ourselves, we are continuing to cement that into being, whether it's good or bad.
Absolutely.
And it's so important for this shift to happen that can change our trajectory in the direction of goodness and possibility.
Yeah. As I'm reading it, Wendy, I almost imagine when he says reframe or she says reframe it.
Yeah.
I put myself in the little box, the little box that's always been there with the values and the systems, that has probably been there since I was a tiny little girl.
Sure.
And then beyond that box, I've got this white picket fence, which is I'm able to hurdle. And I'm thinking, they say create a new frame. I'm thinking, create that new frame, which for me is a white picket fence, and then look at every problem, every dilemma that we find ourselves in on a daily basis, and then from the inside, put this imaginary new picket fence around it, enlarge the box, and create another dimension, I guess. A dimension that is full of infinite possibilities. It doesn't mean that you're going to be able to solve every problem, but I think when you take yourself out of the space that you've been conditioned to be in,
right,
then the new field or the new picket fence or the new frame or the new imaginary string or the new doors that you walk through give you a lot of scope, I guess.
It's true. And, there's a freshness to that. You can even enter into familiar spaces and familiar circumstances, but with this shift of mindset, you see it with new eyes. Just like when you first walk into a room, you see things like, oh, I need to attend to that. I need to do this. But if it's a room that you're always walking into, you might miss a lot of opportunity.
Mm.
You might miss that you can shift. What I love about this book and the story, the introduction that you've shared with us, is that even a shift in tone can change the meaning significantly. You
Absolutely.
can say anything is possible, and that could sound really dark and dreary of, anything is possible. It just, or anything is possible. Like,
that's
it's
right.
just
And on that higher tone, new dialogue becomes possible. And all of a sudden you do start to reinvent the ways in which you might approach things. There was something that he said, or she might have said, actually, that I read this afternoon, and it was this: a simple way to practice it's all invented, because there's 6 lessons in this book, I think. I think that's what I've read, 6 lessons. And one of the first lessons is it's all invented. It's all been made up. Someone has come up with all of this. So you can come up with something else.
That's
right. So a simple way to practice the lesson of it's all invented is to ask yourself this question: what assumption am I making that I'm not aware I'm making? That gives me what I see. And when you have an answer to that question, ask yourself this one: what might I now invent that I haven't yet invented that would give me other choices?
I love that. I love that we have this opportunity in the reframing of a thought, which for me, to step back a little bit, comes through community. So I may have this set monologue of phrases and words that are in my own head that are repeated on a daily basis, not because I don't like myself. It's just, oh, I'm not good at that, or that's not for me, or whatever the thing. Right. The conditioning, whatever my limiting belief is. And when I engage in authentic community and one of those sentences actually falls out of my mouth in an audible way, I have surrounded myself with beautiful, strong people that can say, ooh, let's reframe that. Let's, and challenge me, not in a confrontational way, but in an invitational way to rethink this programming that I'm repeating for myself, and just shift it in a way that actually gets me where I want to go.
Yeah, which is a place of joy and awe and passion and compassion. And Wendy's mantra, which is...
That's right. I am only available for what delights me.
I love that, though. I love that. I mean, we all wake up on days and something, negative has happened. And to be able to go through a series of questions to yourself, okay, what assumption am I making that I'm not aware I'm making? Just to question myself about that. And then if I can see and I come to the conclusion that there is an assumption that I'm making, then what might I now reinvent? What might I tell myself to stop the conditioning and stop going down a road that's going to lead me to being in a bad mood, or thinking, oh, this thing's going to consume me for the next week? I love that there are these, simple questions that I can ask myself.
Right.
And I just refilled my my Filofax today for the new year. And I was thinking, as I was looking at this, that it would be a really great thing just to write, maybe at the start of every week, what assumption am I making at the top of each page? because to get in the habit of doing this, it needs to be front and center, I think.
That's right.
Otherwise, it'll be something that I read and then I forget about. And then I'll think, what was it that they said in The Art of Possibility? What was it? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to think about, what was it? And I'll have forgotten that it was, what assumption am I making? What am I not aware of that I'm making? And what might I invent now to help me solve this particular issue or problem or conversation? Or, that could be used in any manner of
absolutely
situation.
I read a book last summer called The Audacity to be Queen by Gina DeVee, and it's so good. And one of the practices that she illustrates in the book is very similar, just with a slight change of word choice, of course. She says, things are not happening to me, they're happening for me.
Yes.
So when something feels like it's an affront or something terrible is happening, okay, this is not happening to me, it's happening for me. So just that little shift, then answering the question, I'm thrilled this is happening because. So if it is, something terrible, I have this big unexpected bill that I've received. Oh, I'm thrilled this is happening because I'm now available to manifest the money I need. I'm aware of a situation that I was maybe being neglectful. I'm thrilled this has happened, and just answering that question even up to 10 times to really get to the nugget of why it was such a blow initially. So, really digging deep in there of, I'm thrilled this is happening because I can put different systems in place so this doesn't happen again, or, whatever the thing is. But
once you get to the nugget, you can then start moving through your belief patterns.
Right.
And maybe realign them, and it might help you to make a new set of beliefs and choices.
Yes. And then you're really able to say, oh my gosh, I am thrilled this is happening because I'm like getting to the juice of this overall limiting belief. And I mean, I think, you and I have this in common. We want to be the best us we can be. And we want to do the work, and we want to live a transformed life, and we want to be of great service and highest contribution as our best self. And I almost crave those opportunities to reveal something that's a little shadowy. Like, let's just get on in there with a minor cap. And
you revel in the idea of walking through the muddy waters.
Because I know it's for my good. I know it's happening for me, not to me. I'm not afraid of it. I'm welcoming it. I'm like, to get this show on the road.
Whereas I'm still in my gumboots walking around the edge.
Oh, come on in. The water's fine. I'll hold your hand.
I think it's getting to that position, isn't it, where you start to see the world as a place that is full of possibility and abundance instead of a place of scarcity.
Right.
And if you can get there, your emotions go there as well. And that's when you get the joy. That's when you get the awe, the passion and the compassion. And you can be the empathetic person and the person that's full of joy and wonder. And I think that all these books are great, and I loved that first introduction and invitation to possibility, and I love the comparison, the fact that a 12-year-old girl was used, because I think that we all have that capacity for an invitation to possibility, and we lose it somewhere along the line, or a lot of us do. And perhaps it's just about conforming and becoming who we believe we should be and what we're conditioned to become as children. We just grow into that space. But it sure is fun exploring.
It is. And just being aware, reading a book like this, having conversations like this, just serve as a reminder to me to keep my eyes open, be on the lookout, be prepared to receive, be aware, take action, and approach every encounter, approach every experience, expecting magic, expecting a miracle, expecting a great connection. And when you are going through your day, moving through your life with this way of looking at things that is outside of yourself, but you, of course, benefit from it by connecting with others. We benefit. It just shifts everything. And you want to be on the lookout. You're excited about what you're going to find. You're going to have a perfect day.
Yeah. So, Wendy, your 3 takeaways from our conversation today, what would they be?
I love that even the opening line of that book, waiter, I have a perfect life, but I don't have a knife.
Yeah,
so,
I think that was cute.
Being able to articulate that we've not arrived to a place where we have no needs or no need of other people or what they can contribute into our life, but at the same time, recognizing the good that is a part of our day-to-day. I love the idea that anything is possible. Of course, I believe that. Yes, anything is possible. But I love that in the title, it's an art, which means it requires practice. It requires a discipline, really, to not even master it, but just to practice it. And then I love that the little girl's default was perfect. It's so good, and it's what you make it.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I think for me, the takeaways, I love that line, it's all invented anyway. So whatever the problem, whatever the story, whatever the framework, it's all been invented. And we as individuals have everything at our disposal to reinvent. And to me, that they create a new frame. I mean, I've just got that new white picket fence that I can hurdle outside of my inner box. And it's always been a circle. So that's a big shift for me. I've always had some sort of imaginary circle that was see-through. It was like a haze that I could go through to the other side of the circle and I could look in at the problem and walk around it. But I like the picket fence. I like the idea of reframing it. Still looking at it from every angle, except that now instead of a circumference, I've got 4 straight lines and I'm walking around the edge. It just seems to me a really wonderful problem-solving device. And I'm going to throw a 4th one in there because having read half of this book and having had a conversation with my friend Louise about it this afternoon, and now having a conversation with you about it, my 4th big takeaway would be conversation cements new ideas and, helps to cement new habits as well. So the reframing, the whole idea that everything's been invented anyway, so you can invent something new to solve this. And that will lead you into a whole new world of possibility.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that because
they all meld together. They're all part and parcel of the same thing, but they all lead to that. Ask yourself the question, get into the practice of asking yourself, what assumption am I making about this situation that I'm not aware of? What assumption am I making? I am going to take that to the next level and write it every week at the top of my file of facts.
I love it.
Because I go into my diary every single morning and every afternoon. And if that's sitting there staring at me, then that's a practice that I can put into practice to help me solve anything.
Yes. I love your addition of adding conversation, because when I'm reading a book and I'm like, yes, that's so good, and I'm underlining it, and then I might, when I recall the feeling. I recall like, oh, that book was good, but do I remember everything that I underlined? No. I remember how it made me feel. And having a conversation about it cements that experience.
Exactly.
So I might remember your takeaway even more than I remember my takeaway because of how I felt in the exchange.
Exactly. And I'm thinking exactly the same thing. But to go one step further, in, I don't know, it might be week 4. You're starting I Want More the Next 30 Years next week, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
In about week 4, I ask everyone to add a new micro habit to their, arsenal, whatever you want to call it, that becomes part and parcel of their everyday life. And I've just realized, as I was saying to you, that I would write at the top of each week in my file of facts, what assumption am I making that I'm not aware that I'm making? What am I not seeing? And when I have the answer to that question, ask myself, what might I now invent to help me solve this particular problem? Well, by writing that at the top of my file of facts, which is already a habit I have twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon, at least. I mean, to be honest, I probably open my diary about 6 times a day. But by attaching that new habit of asking myself, what assumption am I making, to my file of facts, it will become a new habit. Just like, remember, did I tell you about my micro habit of when I wash my hands, I look in the mirror and check in, how's today going? Are you getting through what you got up and thought that you would get through this morning? I mean, I think it's one thing to read the books, do the courses, blah, blah, blah. But unless you can inject the practices into the everyday, I think it's diluted unless you can do that. And the best way to do it is to attach it to something that is already a habit, a good habit. Cleaning your teeth, or I don't know, whatever.
Right.
Making you coffee in the morning. Attach something to the ritual of making your coffee or making your pot of tea. Or actually, I don't have anything attached to making my tea. I might have to start that. So, all good. I have loved that conversation today.
So have I. Thank you for sharing that, Jane.
And we will put the name of the book and the authors up with the show notes, because I think this is a great little book for people to read. The Art of Possibility. Just loved it.
Me too. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you, Wendy. See you soon.
Yes, I look forward to that. We have loved this conversation and sharing this love letter with you, and we would like to invite you to send us your love letters. Visit the link in the show notes to send us your letters and to join our email list. See you next week.